I'm here with Joey Freddy Larsen, one of the lead actors in the film We Came to Wreck Everything. And we're here to talk about the death of Detective Joe Cotton. Not at all. If you've seen the movie, you'll get the reference. Welcome, Joey. It's great to have you here.
It's good to be here. Yes. I could talk about this movie forever. It is one of the best, most amazing experiences of my life as an actor. Many ups and downs. It's been a roller coaster. I think we've just passed 7 years since we originally shot the principal shooting.
Wow.
So this interview has been a long time coming, Michael. I've been waiting for this day for 7 years here. So
Yeah.
we better make it a good one. Yeah. No, this is great.
I'm going to start with your character, because your character is so pivotal in this film. Tell me a little bit about him.
All right, great question. The fun thing about this is the bulk of my role did not exist in the original script. Alex, AK, was in here casting something else, and they still hadn't cast for the role of Big Brown, and I was just around, like welcoming them, showing them the space. It's a great lesson for just showing up. Like
Yeah, they're like, this guy looks great. Why don't
you
we
want
use
to
him?
be in movies and films, just be around movies and films and filmmakers and other actors. Yeah, so Alex asked me. It was actually originally a bit part. So the key lesson here is when I said yes to this, I probably had 5 or 6 lines in the whole movie. I was around a lot because I was one of the bad guys, like henchmen. So I was in a lot of scenes, but there wasn't much meat on the bone. Alex said, if you want to improvise and throw in some stuff, he knows that I got a bit of a comedic background and I got a bit of a writer's brain too. So if I'm on set, I can improvise something that's going to work. And happened in this, I started when I said yes to this film, like bit player in a large ensemble cast with, I don't know, 5 or 6 lines in a bunch of scenes, but kind of a background guy a little bit. And then through rewrites and reshoots, I come out on the other side. They rewrote that Agent Jones character, which is all of the interrogation scenes when your viewers watch it. So everything that you see of me in the interrogation room as Agent Jones didn't exist in the original script.
Oh,
And I've
wow.
never experienced that in my life. I've never heard of that happening where an actor is cast as a really what is a bit role, and by the end of rewrites and reshoots comes out one of the leads in the entire film. So the whole film is basically me explaining a shit show that blew up. It's called We Came to Wreck Everything because pretty
Yeah.
much everyone in the movie gets killed. Like there's cops and dirty cops and military and ex-military and the mobs and the Russians. Classic, always the
I mean,
Russians.
yeah, you need
Oh,
the
those
Russians.
Russians. Yeah. When I read it, I was like, this sounds really cool. It reminded me of maybe a mashup of like Guy Ritchie,
Yeah.
Tarantino movies, um, a little bit of Usual Suspects. The movie, like for example, I watched Usual Suspects, and at the end of the movie, I was like jaw on the floor, and then I'm like, I gotta watch that whole movie. I watched it immediately. I watched Usual Suspect, rewound it. I think it was on a VHS, but this is how old I am. I feel like it was on a VHS. Rewound the VHS and then watched it immediately because I had to like be like, how did I miss all this stuff? Like, could I have picked it up? So go
Yeah.
watch it. Yeah, if you're a Guy Ritchie fan, like Lock, Stock, and Three Smoking Barrels or Smoking Aces, some Tarantino stuff, Reservoir Dogs ish. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, those are great references for the film. And you can
yeah.
totally, I mean, it's got that levity in there as well, but it's also brings the intensity throughout.
And I did see the script. I saw the lookbook, the look and feel. I had a conversation with Alex. He also assured me that if that I would get to play. Like he was like, this is a small character, but if you want to
Mhm.
make it a little more your own, feel free. On set when I did improvise or add something, he'd be like, yeah, I like that. Let's keep that for the next take. Still in a bit role, but I would steal a few extra lines for myself, which was fun. Like just if he didn't say cut, I would say the next thing that my character would say, and then he'd be like, "Yeah, you can keep that." Just
That's
even
remarkable.
talking about it now this all seems like a weird dream,
Yeah.
not a nightmare, but a good dream where it's like this is great, a real Cinderella story. So I know I loop back, and I know I'm talking like crazy, but this is you're getting 7 years of like
Yeah.
pent up stuff I want to share here. So it's it's been a long time. Yeah.
It's amazing. I mean, it takes so long to get these movies out there, and especially when they are like you mentioned, like it's Alex's first feature,
Right.
and just how much effort goes into just getting it across the finish line and then getting it released. I mean, it's such a marathon with your first projects that like
Yeah.
it's always so gratifying when you get to have it out there. Um, so you've been with this character for many years. At what point would you say that you kind of feel like you fell in love with that role? Like, was there a moment that happened, or was it kind of just like as you're kind of playing with it and kind of slowly building that momentum, are you like, yeah,
Right.
this is it.
Well, I definitely re-fell in love with it when I saw it at the release, the global release at a film festival, because none of us had seen it up to that point. So
Wow.
that like until you've seen it, you're like, you want to be like, yeah, I'm gonna love. I hope I love this, but
Yeah.
or are you shrinking in your chair in the
Yeah.
theater, like leaving early? um, but yeah, I mean, I loved the principal shooting in 2017 was August. So I think it was July, August of 2017. A lot of my stuff at the time was outdoors, all the quarry shots, the
Yeah.
golf course shots, the murder quarry, as we called it. No spoiler alert there.
Yeah, yeah.
I still joke with other cast members like, how about we get the band back together and go have a night in the murder quarry? Uh, yeah, we had overnight shoots in this really cool quarry, and it was just nicknamed the murder quarry. So we're sitting around in between takes with like toy Uzis and shotguns, and we're all gunned up. Be like, I have gun fever in Murder Quarry here. What was the question? What was the question?
No, I
How?
love
Oh,
this. I think we'll
so
keep going
so
on
I knew
that.
I was going to love the principal shooting, um, and I had a strong suspicion that all of the interrogation stuff I was going to run. I will tell you how all of that interrogation room footage, which was myself, Trevor Ketcherson, and Wendy. Spacing on Wendy's last name here, but I got
Taylor.
IMDb up and
Wendy
ready.
Lee Taylor.
Yes, Wendy Lee Taylor. They were the other two agents, and basically that scene is the shit goes down. Every basically there's a bloodbath, and then I come out and being interrogated like what the fuck happened, and I'm like, well, the Russians and the military guys and the cops, and that's where this guy came in and that game. I'm basically explaining what the fuck went down. All of that stuff, the interrogation room was shot in one day. One
Wow.
day, 2 years
Wow.
later, I think it was a 12 plus hour day. It might have been 16 or 18. This, I'll tell you, Michael, on the day, this is what I thought. I was like, focus on stillness. It was like three or four things I said to myself. Just be still. I knew that I was in mostly close-ups or close-ups to mediums, a lot of
Yeah.
close-ups, which everybody loves seeing themselves in close up. So for that reason, I was happy when I saw it. I was like, damn, I look pretty good here. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was it. It was like breathe, just breathe, be still, and have fun with them. Like meddle with them, fuck
Yeah.
with them, toy with them. So I was like cheeky and kind of coy and a bit of a pain in their ass, which I think is me also just mimicking some of my favorite like characters, FBI, CIA, cops. Like some of my favorites are. It's not just drama, drama, drama. Even when you're talking about murders, it's
Yeah.
people are cracking jokes while talking about murders. And as humans, that's the reason humor exists is to make horrible, dark shit somehow lighter, so we don't all put a gun to our heads. Uh,
In the
so
murder quarry.
in the murder quarry, yeah, the perfect place to do it.
Yeah.
Um, so that day, I'll tell you, we literally had we so I had 43 pages of script on my lap under the table, and we just kind of go bit by bit, chunk by chunk. And fortunately for me, Wendy and Trevor, they shot their coverage first. So
Oh,
cameras on them in
perfect.
a two shot, getting them two shot, then close up, then close up. Then they flip it around to my stuff. So by then, I had also had a bunch of rehearsals.
Mhm.
I was able to figure it out. Get a lot of it is the rhythm of the dialogue back and
Yeah.
forth. Like Alex's dialogue is again very heightened and very smart. A lot of metaphors and allusions and allegories and like all this kind of stuff. A lot of alliteration as well.
It's like the
Uh,
light brigade scene is just
yeah, the
so
light
good.
brigade. The light brigade scene, I didn't even get it as I was doing it. But I was just trusting the words, and a lot of it was just as long as I sell that I know what I'm talking about, it'll work. But there is so many moving parts. When people watch it, you're like, it is one of those movies where it's like, wait, who's that guy again? Oh shit, who's he? Wait, oh no, he's one of those guys. Like, there's a lot of that.
It's amazing. And I mean, knowing that you have a background in comedy and stand-up comedy, it's really interesting seeing this character on screen because you get to play with that, but still
Right,
have that kind of like grounded element of like, yeah, I'm in an interrogation room and I'm unraveling a multi homicide with like Russians and paramilitary and
right,
all these sorts of crazy things. But you bring in such a like a wonderful like grounded and like you said, mischievous kind of way of hitting those notes in those scenes that it's like it really feels like Agent Jones has it all fully
right.
under
Good,
control and is
good.
the
Then I
one that's
pulled
like
it off.
controlling the whole thing.
I
Yeah.
pulled it off because
It's
on that day, I think I was on 6 hours sleep, 40
yeah.
pages in my lap. Your brain is just fried. In my head, I'm like, who's this guy? Who's that guy again? Who's this? Oh, who's that? Okay, yeah, yeah. Looking down at the page if I needed
Yeah.
to pick up a line, like moving parts, names. It's kind of that classic scene from without showing the board in my scene. It's like the scene in Usual Suspect or any cop detective movie where they've got all the faces on the board and strings connecting them and notes and things. And that's the reason my character was rewritten because the audience who tested it and the feedback was there's a lot of moving parts. We don't really have one character to grasp onto. Like,
Mm.
whose story is this? Or
Mm.
who's the audience? Who's holding the audience's hand and taking us through this story? And most stories need to have that, especially when they're complicated.
I can't believe that was all done in one day.
Yeah.
I'd love to know like just because it's such a crazy experience
Yeah.
from your perspective, like was there anything that stood out as like you either discovered about yourself as a person or as an actor, or any like kind of key lessons and things that you learned kind of going throughout? I'm sure there's a ton, but any
Right.
like, one or
Well,
two that like really stand out?
a massive one, like I just said, was be still and breathe. On film, especially once you're in a close up, there's not really room for moving and bobbing. There's a couple of scenes, some of my favorite shots in that movie. All I did was I was looking here at something and I didn't move. And then I looked over there and it's like, ooh, look at that look. And it's like I
Yeah,
didn't move anything except my eyeballs. The other one is I think it's saying yes and then doing a good job. Saying
yeah,
yes to things, showing up is a huge one. I said yes to Alex. I showed up every day. I did my best. I often improvised something that ended up being kept in it. And then because I had a good relationship, was a good human being, was working hard, was positive, was solving problems more than creating problems for production. I think that's the reason that Alex asked me back to
yeah.
eventually become the lead in the film.
Yeah, that's an incredible journey.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been so many great stories that you've brought up
Oh yeah. I've
this
been thinking
chat.
about this for a long time it's been a really good lesson for me
Mhm.
and something that like I've never heard of it. It's never happened to me before, and I've never heard of it happening before, where something that started out as something so small became something other. And I've heard plenty of times where a big role ends up getting, it happens the reverse more often. No, uh, it was quite a ride. It's something that I'll remember for the rest of my life. I think it's a very unique movie.
Mhm.
It's a Canadian indie darling. It won Best Thriller at Toronto Indie Film Fest,
Mhm.
TOIFF, not TIFF, but TOIFF.
Yeah,
And then it won Best Feature Film at the Canadian Independent Film Festival in Montreal this past May, right here.
incredible. I mean,
So yeah,
it's a great movie.
yeah.
I mean, Joey, thank you so much for sharing
Oh,
all of
thank you.
these behind the scenes stories. It's so fun to hear them. It was wonderful chatting with you today, and for everyone who's still watching, go back and rewatch. We Came to Wreck Everything right now.
Go watch We Came to Wreck Everything right now, like 5 times.